evening. Good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate. Tonight, viewers, we are going to put a special spotlight on the explosive crisis in the state of Maharashtra. We're going to talk about a case that we here at Mirror Now have been chasing now from day one, and how with many twists and turns, it's become completely messed up and led to a massive crisis in the state. So over the next 2 hours, I will break it down for you, get the experts in to tell you what really went on, and then of course we'll have a big political debate as well. Now, over the last few years, Netas in the Agadi government have been dismissing the case, saying it's not a big issue. But I believe it is an explosive crisis. It started off with the Ambani explosive case. It then led to the death of a man called Mansukh Hiran. It then led to the arrest of a well-known cop here in Mumbai, Sachin Waze, and then the transfer of Mumbai police chief. He didn't stop there. It then exploded when this ousted Mumbai police chief made allegations of extortion against a state home minister. And he claimed that the chief minister, the deputy chief minister, the NCP party chief and other ministers, they all knew of the malpractices and the misdeeds. And yet, nothing has happened. Now, some within the Maha Agadi seem to suggest that this is a trivial issue. It's not the main issue. It's not the main story. But we will tell you why that's utter rubbish and why this case cannot be treated as a trivial issue. It's a fact that explosives were planted near one of India's top industrialist house here in Mumbai. And it's a fact that the man linked to that case is now dead. It's a fact that the cop, Sachin Waze, was defended by the chief minister. And he is now a murder suspect. It's a fact that this rogue cop who's gone rogue clearly could not have done it all by himself. That there would have been many more who were in the know, helping him or perhaps even instructing him. It is a fact that the state now is doubting the same former top cop, the same former police commissioner who led the Mumbai police, handle the biggest of the cases for this state government, was put at the forefront by the state government and its leaders, was defended by them. And now the same police chief has been ousted, he is being doubted, he is being villainized. They are now calling him a BJP pawn, the same man who led the police force for so long in the city of Mumbai and worked with the government. The crisis, viewers, has not only dented the image of the Mumbai police, but also of the state government. And I have several unanswered questions. We will also talk about in detail how the image of the police and the government has been dented. But first up, let me bring in our reporters. Santhya and Mayuresh both are joining us right now. Santhya, let us begin with the case itself. The two aspects, the explosives case, the murder of Mansukh Hiran. Where has the investigation reached? What's the link with the Mumbai police and others?
So when we both these cases, Ambani bomb scare case and Mansukh Hiran murder case, both of them are interconnected, and that's exactly why NIA now officially has the direction, has the orders from MHA to investigate and take over this case as well. But because Maharashtra ATS is yet to get the official order copy, they are continuing with their investigation. Now let's talk about the motive of the murder here. Mansukh Hiran's murder motive is clear to Maharashtra ATS. According to Maharashtra ATS, Mansukh Hiran was aware that Sachin Waze was using the Scorpio to plant gelatin outside Ambani's residence. Mansukh Hiran himself handed over the keys of the Scorpio to Sachin Waze. He was taken in confidence by Waze that because Waze is going to get the case, nothing is going to happen to him at all. He's going to tackle the situation. That's why Mansukh Hiran gave a statement also where he did not mention at all that the Scorpio in question was actually used and driven by Sachin Waze. Now, his wife, Mansukh Hiren's wife, also has given a statement in her. He has given a statement, and now Maharashtra ATS also has some chats with between Mansukh Hiren and his brother, where Mansukh Hiren is telling that Sahab, which is Sachin Waze, has taken care of everything. He's going to take care of everything. He has all the papers. He's the main guy. He has asked me to not to name him as the user of the Scorpio, so I have listened to him. And same thing was actually mentioned by Mansukh's wife as well, Tanvi, where she said that Sachin Waze asked her husband to claim the responsibility, surrender, and he assured that he's going to get himself out, out within 2 to 3 days. Now, why exactly Sachin Waze, according to Maharashtra, it is got Mansukh Hiren murdered? Because in the midway, Mansukh Hiren definitely told and he refused to cooperate any further. In fact, Sachin Waze thought that very soon one of the investigating agencies will crack him open and he will spill the beans and disclose his plan.
Yes, absolutely. And these instances just show how the credibility of the police has also been dented, how at some point, this cop who was leading this case tried to mislead the media as well about where the investigation was headed, contrary versions coming out from everywhere, state defending these cops and then later on turning around. Now, that's one aspect. And Sandhya, thanks so much for joining us and putting that aspect really in perspective as far as the investigation in these two cases are concerned. Now, as much as I would like to know about what happened, and why were these explosives planted and that threat letter put in that car near Ambani's house? As much as I would also want to know who murdered Mansukh Hiren and why? Why was this life taken? I also want to know the bigger story. What was going on? Is there merit to the allegations that were made by Parambir Singh, former police commissioner of Mumbai? And I cannot understand why is it that the state government is in complete denial, refuses to even order a probe, continues to defend and justify, even attempts to villainize the same person who is leading their police force till now. Mayuresh, let's talk about the politics of it. 3 parties in the state government. Let's first tell our viewers what are each of these 3 parties saying. Are they even talking in one collective voice?
Yes, and after Saturday, we are seeing for the first time that today all 3 parties were on the same page. Earlier, we saw that how Shiv Sena basically defended Parambir Singh. They called him that he was a good cop, where NCP was clear that his transfer was not a routine transfer. But now, after 2 days, we are seeing that all 3 parties are on the same page because today Shiv Sena changed its stand and said that he was working under pressure or he was working of BJP.
Okay, so but Mayuresh, we heard detailed news conferences both, from Sharad Pawar, in fact, yesterday and today. We've not heard from the chief minister so far. Now, while Sharad Pawar says he doesn't believe and see a need for a probe because the dates don't match and, claims made in the letter don't make sense since Anil Deshmukh was in quarantine. But the final decision is with the chief minister. So when is that decision going to come from the Maharashtra government? Are they going to order a probe or not?
Absolutely, Tanvi, Maharashtra government, and especially the chief minister of Maharashtra, is completely silent on this issue. We have been given to understand that he's regularly speaking with all stakeholders, but as of now, he has yet to make his decision whether he should be ordering any kind of probe into these allegations. Because see, these allegations have been leveled by a DG rank officer who was former CP of Mumbai, and these are the serious nature allegations. So the person has to come clean if this government has to function in a proper way. Otherwise, that how opposition will again start targeting this particular government. So all eyes on Uddhav Thackeray's decision. But since last 48 hours, Uddhav Thackeray has not spoken or not reacted on this. Back to you, Tanvi.
All right, Sandhya and Mayuresh, thanks so much for joining us, with those details. Now, let me just bring in Vinay Tiwari here on, several aspects, Vinay, that we want to talk about. And the first step, like I began by saying, was this is not a trivial matter. There are very, very serious questions and questions about extortion about murder, about dirty cops and corruption that the government clearly just can't brush away so simply.
Oh, absolutely. And look, ever since the first day's information of a vehicle with 20 gelatin sticks being found parked outside the house of India's and possibly Asia's biggest industrialist came in, this case has just become worse and worse and murkier and murkier and dirtier and dirtier. And that's why it was very distressing to see that a very important component of the government today actually said on record that this is not the most important issue right now, it's actually COVID. Well, I would agree with him, it is COVID which is more important. But then this particular mess has been created by the very own machinery that they preside over. And you cannot now use COVID to justify why this isn't such an important issue. And I'll tell you why it's an important issue. Here is the first set of facts. An officer of the Mumbai police, an officer that has been loved and fancied and promoted and propagated as some kind of a superhero, super cop, has now been accused by the National Investigating Agency of plotting a bizarre idea of putting a car filled with explosives outside the biggest industrialist house. Then a very shameful attempt was made to actually make the case look like some kind of a threat which came from a terrorist organization, where a number was actually revealed which came in from the Tihar jail. 2 days later, a body is found on the creeks, which turns out to be that of a businessman, and virtually immediately the widow of that businessman levels allegation against that very same cop who's investigating this case and is the principal investigator and is publicly actually issuing statements or at least speaking to everybody on this case. Now, another shameful attempt is made by someone who at first instance suggests that that businessman committed suicide because he was getting calls of harassment calls from journalists, among other people. Now, not only has that entire theory turned on its head, Maharashtra government's own anti-terror squad, it's not the NIA, by the way, which is investigating the murder case, at least not till yesterday. It is their own police force which says that that particular murder was also masterminded by the same officer. That's the allegation, and it's a very serious allegation. And in the middle of it, the commissioner of the police, who was principally responsible for choosing and selecting that officer to head a very unusual and a controversial crime intelligence unit that has been in the news for all the wrong reasons, then is shunted out, who then proceeds to level very serious allegations against his own boss. Remember, he's still the DGP Home Guards, and Mr. Anil Deshmukh is his boss as the Home Minister of the state. And that allegation is very specific, very precise, and is accompanied by what Mr. Parambir Singh claims is evidence. If this is not the biggest and the worst crisis to hit a government of any state, I don't know what is. To even suggest, no matter who it is, that it is not an important issue is a travesty. And I don't think the politicians are currently realizing how much damage it does to the image of a state government and the police force, who enjoys a very symbiotic relationship with the citizens they police. The citizens need to have a faith in the police, and they need to have a faith in their own government, and neither of it is served when you are shown up as a bunch of extortionists or a bunch of people who can plot crimes and kill people simply because you have some mysterious reason to plant explosives outside an industrialist house. Nothing could have been worse, and I do not remember a past instance of a conspiracy or an event of this sort in any state of India, let alone a very advanced, progressive, and a critically economically important state like Maharashtra, Tanvi.
Oh yes, absolutely, Vinay. And like you said, it's when your protectors of the citizens actually seemingly turn into lawbreakers and seemingly turn into extortionists or even those plotting, threats and explosives everywhere, then there will be big question marks on the credibility of such a police force. Now, here are a few more unanswered questions that I just want to put out there, and Vinay and I, along with our panelists, will speak about some of them in the coming few minutes. Number one, why were explosives planted near Mukesh Ambani's residence? Who wanted to do that, and what was the purpose? Is there a link with all of these allegations that have been made about extortion? Did somebody really think that could work? Why were these explosives planted? Why did the Maharashtra government then openly, inside assembly, outside assembly, back Sachin Waze without waiting to find out the facts? Why did they make us believe that there was nothing wrong, that he had no role to play when they did not have the facts? Did the Maharashtra Chief Minister, did Sharad Pawar, did the ministers of Maharashtra government and the Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar know about this alleged extortion racket as it is being claimed by Parambir Singh? Were they informed, even if it was in mid-March, even if it was in the second week of March? Were they informed, and did they completely dismiss these allegations? With Anil Deshmukh still at the helm of affairs, still the Home Minister of Maharashtra, how can there be a fair probe? That is, if we order a probe by the state government. Next question. Why did Parambir Singh not speak up earlier? Now, if indeed there is merit to what he is saying, and there is truth to what he is saying, he mentions that there were several meetings over several months, where Sachin Waze was called by the Home Minister of Maharashtra at his residence, where ACP Patil was called. If that is the case, and if he was told about it a few weeks earlier, why didn't he speak up earlier? Is the Ambani explosives case a fallout of this alleged instruction by the minister for the extortion? And shouldn't the State Home Minister resign for a fair probe to be done? Let's say good evening to our panelists who are joining us this evening. Along with Vinay and me, I also have Mr. M.N. Singh, former Commissioner of Police of Mumbai, joining us, and Girish Kuber, editor of Lok Satta. Good evening to you. Mr. M.N. Singh, let me start off by asking you this question, the very valid point that Vinay also made about the credibility of the police department. Would you agree that today it's badly dented, and how do we go about fixing it then?
Yes, I agree with every word of Mr. Vinay Tiwari. Today, the Mumbai police and the government of Maharashtra both are in the docks. Both are trading charges against each other. The Commissioner of Police of the DG's rank is the top police official of the state government, and the Home Minister of the government of Maharashtra are trading charges. And the matter has now, I understand, gone to the Supreme Court. Mr. Parambir Singh is not backing down, and he has taken the matter to the Supreme Court and has himself requested that the Supreme Court should order an inquiry. So he is very sure and very confident about what he says. And a police officer cannot make such allegations, open allegations against a minister, unless he is very sure about it. Now, as far as the police image of Mumbai police is concerned, I agree that the image of Mumbai police has been very badly dented and very badly damaged, and I feel very sorry about it, because I once headed this police force, which is one of the finest police forces in the country, and it has a very fine track record of policing in the field of crime busting, in the field of traffic management, in the field of public order management. And also, you would agree with me that Mumbai police is known for its humane touch and behavior. You have often seen a traffic policeman giving a push to a stranded car during the monsoon in the streets of Mumbai. I have not heard of, or very few cases came to my notice, of a policeman using foul language, unlike the practice that prevails in the police forces of other states, particularly in the states in the north. So Mumbai police has an image. Mumbai police also, as I said, has a very fine track record. You would agree with me that it is the same Mumbai police which completely broke the back of the underworld, which was on the rampage during the 80s and the 90s. And many people had been killed. If I may be allowed to quote the figure, the killings started from 1981. In 1990, there were 23 killings. In 1998. And then the police force of Mumbai stepped in and put the pressure on the accelerator. And this number came down to merely 10 killings in 2003. We enacted a law called Makoka Act in 1991, arrested lots of underworld elements, put them behind the bars, and many of them were killed in police actions. And today, for the last about 15, 20 years, this city is more or less free from the curse of the gangland killings. There was a time when 5 MLAs were killed in the streets of Mumbai. 5 MLAs, I can count the names. 1 member of parliament was killed. One top textile industrialist, Sunit Khatau, was killed. So many hoteliers, film stars, film actors, people involved in film industry, builders, etc., were killed. Many corporators and Shiv Sena, Shakha Pramukhs and others were killed. There was a complete panic in the city. It is this very police force of Mumbai which brought it down and broke the back of the underworld. And today the city is free, more or less free from the curse of the underworld. Don't forget also that it is the same Mumbai police which has bore the brunt of terrorist attacks.
But I completely agree with you, Mr. Singh. For all of these, for the police that went after the underworld dons, the police that has fought, the terror attacks and protected this city, the police that has handled the worst of the riots.
Just a minute. Let me give me a minute more. It is the same police force which on 26/11 lost 14 of its officers, including an IG level officer, a DIG. It is the same police force of which a Havaldar alive, and he was put on trial and he was convicted and hanged. So the Bombay police has a tremendous record of its excellence in the policing. So, but today I feel very happy. I agree that the police image has been very badly damaged. Now, why it has been damaged? Well, let me tell you, I will not mince any words today. I am compelled to say that it is happening because we have a government which is on a slippery ground. It's some kind of a hocus pocus of a combination of a government. And when there is a government which is on a slippery ground, it is the governance which suffers. And if there is any element of truth in the allegations, and I can't dismiss it because it's come from a very senior serving officer, you can imagine what is the plight when there is so much politicization of the police force, there is so much of interference in the police functioning, then this is what you are going to have. Why are you blaming the police force? Blame the politicians who are responsible for ruining the police discipline. Minister calling the sub-inspector directly and giving any instructions is just not done.
Okay, so let me take up that point. You made a very interesting point. If I can just take that to Girish Kuber. Girish Kuber is that elite police force that has done a great job in, going after the underworld, protecting us from terrorists, handling riot-like situation, now turned into a force that perhaps at the behest of politicians has become an extortionist force and is asking people for money to protect them.
See, it will be naive to believe that it's just only police or the politicians are responsible for the situation. I beg to differ with Mr. Singh. I mean, he obviously has to defend the image of the police force. But it's a steady deterioration of the police force since 1980s. It actually began in 1995 when Gopinath Munde, there was a kind of in political circles, in police circles, kind of an auctioning of top post, So nobody objected to that. So it's a process that has begun long back. And the reason is there is a clear-cut resistance for police reforms. Police and Home Ministry and the politicians, they are directly linked. So police officials who are seen hobnobbing with the politicians, especially ruling politicians, they get quote-unquote plum post. They are favored. Even some of them are given post-retirement benefits. So it's all part of the same group, what Mr. Singh is talking about. Even in this case, why government is not taking this allegation seriously? Because they are coming from a person who is not known for impeccable character. That's the case. I mean, if you look at the 1999 history, just ahead of the when government was formed, it was same Mr. Paramveer Singh who filed an affidavit in High Court giving complete clean chit to certain politicians for their role in irrigation scam. Within no time, those politicians were seen part of the government, which lived only for 3 days. A government collapsed. Those are back in the government. I mean, the kind of things even police officials, or even in fact government officials also do. It's not something they should be proud of. So it's easy to blame politicians, but politicians can be corrupt only if they are having good conniving officials to do their dirty things. If they refuse, there won't be an issue. They don't refuse. They enjoy the patronage. They are part of the system which is corrupt. So it's not that only politicians are corrupt. Officials are also equally corrupt.
Okay.
Government officials are also equally corrupt. And that's how the system works. It's kind of a quid pro quo, and that has been there since last 30 years in Maharashtra. Nobody objected to that.
Okay, Mr. Raman Singh, do you disagree with that? I mean, can policemen really say no?
Tell you, I am not trying to defend even for a moment Parambir Singh. Parambir Singh, as the boss of the Bombay police, ought to have put his foot down and done something about it if this was going on. I am not even for a moment trying to defend Parambir Singh. I would, you should see that. I am only saying that the police force of Bombay is a very fine police force. It needs a good leader and a good government. If the politicians are meddling in its affairs in day-to-day policing, transfers, postings, promotions, you tell me this is API Vajay, who was facing a murder charge and dismissed from suspended for the last 14 years, and I was a regular member of Shiv Sena. He had officially joined and he was probably party spokesman. Such a person being brought back to the service, whose decision was this? Was it Parambir Singh's decision? Was it government's decision? Leader of opposition, Mr. Fadnavis has gone and report to say that the present chief minister wanted his reinstatement. So
Yes.
Rott should have shown the same guts that he is showing today at that time. But it is not easy. Let me tell you, it's not easy. Only when the water comes to the nose, then the people start throwing beer saying. But by and large, as far as the Bombay police force is concerned, it's a very fine police force. It needs a good leader. It needs a good government. If the government is tight, the police force behaves well. And if the government leaves the administration of the police force in the hands of the police leaders, the police behaves the best. And police force always looks to its leader. That is the commissioner of police and the DG and other senior officer, not politicians. Some corrupt police officers, of course, will look around and join hands with politicians and all kinds of people and make money. Bombay, don't forget, Bombay is the commercial capital, and it's the headquarters also of the organized crime. It was one time called a headquarter of organized crime. Now, there is all possibilities that what the previous speaker said, that it started in 1981, I agree, and it peaked in 1990, and it became so difficult that everybody, the film industry of Bombay City was wanting to migrate from here and go to some other state. And the government called a meeting, and I was present in the meeting when the government said we should do something now to see that this industry does not move out of Bombay, because they had given an ultimatum. Now, this is the situation, and then the police had to step in, use the Makoka law, which was enacted in 99, and also use this tough action against the gangsters. And that is how the situation was brought under control.
Okay.
Now,
So
it's
then-
very easy now to say that there are, specialists in counter. There is no such jargon in the police lexicon.
Yes.
This is all creation of media and glamorized by the film industry of
Well,
Bombay.
I would say
So-
that at the instant that Sachin Wazi was actually brought back is when everybody should have also back then, including us, asked the question, why somebody who was, accused of such serious allegations brought back, basis what decision, what was the due diligence that was done. But that's one part. Vinay, where did the change and the turnaround happen from a police force that in the 90s began to crack down on those who were threatening the biggest of the film stars and the industrialists, to the police force who itself seems to be part of this racket now?
Yes, I mean, let's put the context very clear, Tanvi. We are not talking of any ordinary police force. The two most prestigious police forces in the country are the Mumbai Police and the Delhi Police. The Delhi Police because it guards the national capital and reports directly to the Home Ministry, and the Mumbai Police simply because it is the financial capital of India and possibly is the second most high-profile citizenry to guard and protect, and of course, the city being the financial capital. Mr. Raman Singh mentioned about the Mumbai Police wiping out the underworld, and he's right. But Indian mythology, tells you the story of Samudra Manthan. And in the Samudra Manthan, there was a lot of Amrit that came out, but so did some amount of vish. The Amrit was the fact that the underworld got contained. The extortions probably reduced, the killings on the streets became safer. But the wish was, or the poison was, that you fanned and aided and abetted immensely by the film industry. You gave birth to a series of cops or police officials who acquired a larger than life disproportionate image of themselves, who found any basic policing a very mundane act. They were into keeping diaries, into counting the number of kills they've made, and almost started enjoying the larger than life image they had. It also allowed one other aspect, which possibly is not just only true for Bombay or Maharashtra, it is probably a national epidemic currently, a bigger epidemic than COVID that we are facing, which is the nexus that exists between the uniformed police officers and the government in power. And in many states, you will notice, Tanvi, that the police acts as the uniformed militia for the government. And that possibly is the biggest problem that we have. And I can tell you, in 2006, 15 years ago, the Supreme Court in the Prakash Singh judgment asked for reforms. And if the Supreme Court one day decides to get tough about that, you will find at least 60 to 70 or 80% of the states, frankly, can be prosecuted for contempt, because none of them are actually even following even the basics of the order that was given in the Prakash Singh judgment. The very reason why the judgment came in was because the court recognized that the nexus does not insulate the officers from taking independent decision. Girish mentioned a fact about the police officers can say no. Yes, they can. But then they run the risk of being shunted to some obscure police housing board, DG or a chairman forever and ever. They'll never get a range, they will never get a district, and they'll never get a posting, which can be even remotely called professionally satisfying. And we've seen that story getting played out in state after state. So the problem is that if you choose to lead the better life because you enjoy the nexus or the trappings of the nexus, you are not creating an environment where anybody will have any confidence in either the police or even the government. And I think that's where the biggest tragedy in the crisis is. You have a very, very ugly episode getting played out. And the biggest point, and the last point that I wanted to make, is that governments do not get tested on how well they handle the Amrit. They get tested on how well they handle the Vish. And if you saw that there is an officer who's now in the dock, who seems to have carried out something extremely sinister, instead of defending him on the floor of the assembly, you should have acted against him, or at least attempted or appeared to be on the side of justice and not on the side of defending somebody who's clearly indefensible.
Yes, and you know, Vinay, you mentioned how the government dealt with Sachin Waze and kept defending him. They also used the Mumbai Police Commissioner all of this time for all of the key cases. He was right in the front, leading all of that, speaking to the media. They defended him. They said, we believe in the police first, we believe in Parambir Singh and how he's dealing with all of the main cases. And now they're villainizing the same guy. Girish Kuber, I find it extremely unprecedented. There are serving police official, and a top serving police official has actually gone to the Supreme Court seeking a CBI probe, clearly fearing for what may happen if the current establishment here had to investigate.
No, actually, that's not the case. It will be a bit naive to believe that whatever Mr. Singh says or whatever on the other side, government also says so. Had Mr. Parambir Singh been so sensitive about political interference, he could have raised the issue of Waze's induction and the posting given to him. There is no record that suggests that he objected to Waze's induction. In fact, if you look at the history of certain police officials, they have moved in tandem with Mr. Singh or whoever is in power or whoever is in command, or whatever be the post. So there is always a favored official coterie along with the top police officials that has created kind of their own empire. And it always works for them as long as the government is part of the story. When it starts objecting, they get out of that and they fall apart. And you see ugly thing, whatever is happening now. So it will be the real kind of a solution can be, as Vinay said, only about the police reform. No one is talking about it. This is one of the issues that will be soon forgotten. I'll tell you, I would like to remind what Mr. Khairnar was, G.R. Khairnar. There are quite a few other officials who came out of the official position and alleged the powers then. Nothing happened because there is no systemic improvement. And in this case also, I will be happy to be proved wrong. Nothing is going to happen. It will just die down because no one wants to reach out and reach to the truth. And that's exactly the story now.
No, I absolutely. Let me just say this not for a minute. Am I saying that I believe any one version I don't, and that includes the claims that are also being made by Parambir Singh. I began the show by saying, if this is what it was, why was he silent until he got shunted out and then he decided to? But even then, it just shows you the extent of the mess, involvement and the nexus between politicians and the police force that is serving official for whatever reasons. Maybe he feels that he has the backing from the other side, or they will now back him for whatever reasons, has gone to the Supreme Court. And now the Supreme Court is going to be looking into this issue. But Mr. Emin Singh, does that also show that perhaps he feels he has enough evidence in place if he is seeking the intervention of the Supreme Court?
Well, the fact that he has gone to the court, Supreme Court, you recall that Mr. Anil Deshmukh said that he will sue Parambir Singh for defamation. But Parambir Singh is not going to be cowed down, it seems. He has moved the Supreme Court. I don't know what are the forces working, but he must be sure about whatever material he has got. But that apart, the fact remains that a very tainted police officer like Sachin Vajay was reinstated and given a very sensitive job in the crime branch. There is a failure of leadership in this. There is a failure of supervision. I agree that Mr. Parambir Singh should put his foot down and not given him this kind of an importance. And if he was being called by the minister and the junior officers were being called over his head, then he should have raised the issue at that time. Whether he raised or not, we don't know. Now, the result is that the entire police force stands very badly criticized and the image is sullied. I agree with Mr. Tiwari that there is a need to introduce police reform. But this has been going on for a very, very long time. I don't think the politicians of today are interested. They don't want to lose control over. You remember when in 1857, when the mutiny took place, the British introduced the first police commission in 1860, and then they created a well-structured police organization. And then again in 1902, and again once. So 3 times the British introduced police reforms. After independence, now it is now nearly 75 years, we have not done it even once. Even though we are an independent democratic nation, we have the same police force which served the British police. It was meant to serve the colonial power and not the citizens of this country. It was high time that police reform is introduced. And I would urge that the public at large and the media in particular should take up this issue. I was very happy to read an editorial in Times of India today, which has talked about the need to introduce police reform. I think politicians will not listen to it unless there is a strong voice in favor of a police reform. It's a high time. Police cannot be used as a handmaiden of politicians who are so corrupt. They are nothing but they have turned the whole police force into a gang of criminals in uniform.
Yes.
They are themselves indulging in criminal activities. I cannot imagine that this kind of a thing happens. Now, you can imagine, where do the people stand? What is the hope of the people that they will ever get the justice from? I mean, organized crime again will come back. I am warning the government of Maharashtra and the government of India and the people that the way the organized crime gangs dominated the whole city in the 80s and 90s, we face the prospect of the same thing happening again, because organized crime prospers in a city which has a lot of commercial activities, because organized crime itself is a kind of a commercial activity. It thrives where there is a lot of business. And in this city, if this is the way the restaurants and parlors and clubs and all those kinds of hookah parlors, etc. are being, I mean, if the money is being collected by the police, then I'm afraid that the underworld will bounce back to action and again we will have a serious problem. So this is the time that the government wakes up. This is the time that the police people raise the voice and media supports, because the police reform is the cry of the day.
Okay. No, so I also want to say good evening to Mr. Prem Kishan Jain, former Additional Director General of Police in Maharashtra. But Mr. Jain, before I come to you, Vinay, you wanted to add to what Mr. Emin Singh was saying?
No, I just wanted to make a quick point. Look, Tanvi, the aspect of nexus that exists between the police and the politicians is the last step of the ladder. The nexus with police of various people in the strata of society starts from a much lower rung as well. From the local beat constable who may have a nexus with the local Reddy Patri Association to the SHO of a police station who may have a nexus with the shopkeepers in his area is legendary. And it is not just one state which does that, every single state that happens. I'll give you one small story. In one of the premier North Indian states, police stations have three nomenclatures. One is called Zabrana, one is called Shukrana, and one is called Nazrana. Zabrana means police stations where you have to forcibly collect money. Shukrana means where the police stations believe in the concept of I scratch your back and you scratch mine. And Shukrana are those stations where you don't have to ask for any money, it will just be delivered to you. This is how almost it's like a filmy auction that seems to happen unofficially. And that is something that is ingrained in the way policing works in India. And so this whole nexus, it's not just about politicians. There is a very I'll scratch your back and you scratch mine mindset that exists from the street level upwards, and the last mile or the last rung of that ladder is the politician.
The last rung of that ladder is the politician. But what happens, Mr. Prem Kumar Jain, when the politicians and the police force of the same state and the city begin to clash, begin to now point fingers at each other openly? Does that show, should that concern us to say, well, this is the height of the racket and the nexus? You've reached a tipping point now?
Absolutely. In this case, I was listening to my earlier speakers. See, what has happened in this case is Mr. Singh was quiet till the time the Home Minister did not start leveling allegations and insinuations against him. And he did not start saying that there are unpardonable mistakes committed by Parambir Singh. Now, till that time, it was okay. The moment he started making such statements, Parambir Singh hit back, and he said, you cannot be holier than thou. You are a part of the clique. So that is how the entire thing has spun out into the public. It is unfortunate that it happens that the politicians have always a higher sway. In this case, the Commissioner of Police was transferred just by the stroke of a pen. I mean, howsoever powerful he may be, he was just transferred out. So you can understand who calls the shots. You know, when I was an SP in my younger days, the politicians used to ask for the transfer and postings of only SHOs, because then they could dictate as to who would be arrested, who would not be arrested, who would be handcuffed, who would be sent to jail, who would be sent to, who will be bailed out and things like that. But then it started moving upwards, and now you see at what level it has reached. Even senior officers are being compromised. It is a very, very sad state of affairs. And as Mr. Aman Singh has very correctly pointed out, that this would bring the underworld back to the streets of Mumbai and any other major metro, because political parties across the country behave in the same manner. Party is immaterial. Nobody wants the police to be independent. Everybody wants to keep the police and police officers under their thumb so that they can carry out their wishes, legal and illegal both. So I think it is a high time that a corrective measure is taken by the governments that be. Now, coming to the current case, say Mr. Deshmukh, no inquiry can be conducted against him till the time he is the Home Minister. Which police force will conduct an inquiry against him? And even if you give it to an independent agency like a retired police officer or a retired High Court judge, it doesn't cut any ice. What has to be done in this case is specific allegations have been made. An offence under the Prevention of Corruption Act should be registered and given to an SIT, which is monitored by the Honorable High Court. Only then probably we can have some semblance of justice or propriety in this case. So what is required in this case? And second thing is that we should not lose case of the original case from where it all stemmed out. See, Wazir case has now gone to the background. Everybody is only talking about Parambir Singh and the allegations against the Home Minister and things like that. What about the original case? Why were the original explosives planted? That was directed, the fingers were directed and pointed in a different direction towards a different party. Now suddenly the focus has changed to a different party. So that case is equally important. Whoever was the villain in that case is also the villain in this case. And I think both the things should be looked together as to which are the parties, who are the individuals, who are the functionaries in the government who are responsible for this kind of a malaise and who generated this kind of a conspiracy.
But when there is so much of politics involved, Mr. Jain, who does that? Who finds these answers for us? Who fixes the problem?
As I said, it has to be now the things have come to a stand where the moment you give it to CBI, the state government is going to cry foul that you've given it to the government of India, which is ruled by the BJP. So a lot of politics is going to come in. It is already coming in.
Correct.
So what can now be done is that it should be done under by a special investigating team under the supervision of the Honorable High Court or the Supreme Court, whichever way you take it. But it has to be a court-monitored probe. Otherwise, nothing is going to come out of these cases now.
Okay, a court-monitored probe, and that's perhaps one way of, hoping that we get out certain truth. Girish, do you agree that's perhaps the only way available? I mean, people have lost their trust in this police and how they have dealt with the entire matter in both of those cases, and of course the third revelation in how the state government seems to be dealing with this entire matter. The Chief Minister is yet to speak since that letter bomb dropped 3 days ago.
Absolutely.
I fully agree with what Mr. Jain said. You know how this thing came to a knot. We should realize it's very indefensible statement by Mr. Deshmukh. It was agreed in political circles, especially in the government circles, that Mr. Singh will be given kind of an honourable exit. But that agreement was broken by Mr. Deshmukh. In one of the platforms, he criticized Mr. Singh for his so-called unpardonable mistakes. If he was unpardonable as his boss, equally Mr. Deshmukh was also unpardonable. But that's not going to happen. That's why what Mr. Jain said is the only way to have such kind of an independent inquiry led by a High Court judge. Otherwise, things are just not going to go any which way. There will be something happening tomorrow, and the whole focus will be shifted to that. You know, if Waze case, it starts with planting of this way. It's a very childish act to have those 9 gelatin sticks next to Mr. Ambani's residence. I don't know. I mean, from there onwards, where it took the turn, it's very murky and shady, and it also puts police in not exactly the position which they would like to portray. Police's role in the whole game cannot be ignored. So, including Mr. Deshmukh and government's part of in this so-called corruption, police's role also equally needs to be investigated. It can't happen unless it is monitored by the judge or retired judge of the High Court.
Okay, since we have 2 police experts here, I have a question. And maybe we'll start off with Mr. Jain and then take it to Mr. MN Singh as well. Mr. Jain, is it really possible that one API went rogue and decided to carry out this whole operation because he thought he was too big, too high above? He had all these political contacts. He had the biggest of the parties backing him, and so he could get away with anything. Is it possible that he would dare to do this without having other people in the know of it?
In my little experience, Tanvi, it cannot happen. An API level officer cannot have this kind of a conspiracy unless he was backed by the officers, senior officers, and the powers that be. In this case, the fingers were directly pointed at the Honorable Chief Minister and maybe some other Shiv Sena functionaries. So it cannot happen at the level of Sachin Waze at all. I am absolutely categorical about it. There have to be politicians, there have to be political masters involved in this, and then also backed by some senior officers. Now that NIA probe should bring it out, but I don't know. I mean, how much is it going to happen? Because eventually Sachin Waze has to break. This kind of a conspiracy cannot be proved unless somebody turns a government approval. So it's a big question mark, which is probably going to be answered in the days to come.
Mr. Singh, would you agree that it's not possible for one junior cop to really carry out such an operation without others being in the know? Now, whether they were plotting along with him or just looking the other way?
Well, it's very obvious. The way he was brought back in the service after 14 years under suspension and joining a political party and setting up lots of business, it cannot happen. The normal administrative process does not allow. And there was a High Court order also. It is very clear that he was helped by people in the government, and tolerated by the police commissioner. There is no doubt that he was given, Sachin Waze was given a long rope, and he became larger than life. And that is how he went out of control. He should have been controlled. In fact, I would like to suggest here that, as I said, in 2003, the total number of gangland killings came down from 101 to 10. And the problem of this gangland killing, it stopped. I think it's the time that all these units should be disbanded in the crime branch. And all these so-called experts or specialists and counter specialists should be packed off and sent to some kind of other postings. Because they have become a law unto themselves. They are virtually criminals in uniform. So there is certainly a quid pro quo, and there is certainly the blame lies both at the government level and at the police manager level in encouraging this man who became such a problem. I don't know. It is still not very clear what was the motive behind planting this. But if Sachin Vajay has done it, and yesterday's arrest of another policeman who was convicted in a murder case, and if that is all true, that it shows that it was done by these people, well, why they did it, that is not clear. The motive is yet to be established, but I am sure that the NIA will find out the motive. But if these people have done, for whatever be the motive, it is very, very dangerous. It is dangerous for the society, dangerous for the state, and dangerous for everybody. And such things should not be. Even now, people should consider that a thorough review should be taken, and all such elements, bad eggs in the police force should be weeded out, and a thorough cleansing process needs to be initiated immediately.
Yes, what could be the motive is what
and
we
more
are
so,
also seeking.
and more so, Tanvi.
Yes. Yes,
And
Mr.
more
Jain.
so, Tanvi, in this case, he was more so in this case because he was backed by the Honorable Chief Minister on the floor of the House. I'm surprised that a person was given all the important cases, and when he goes astray and the skeletons start tumbling out of the cupboard, and then he's backed by a number of people. He is backed by all the powers that be. It's so damn unfortunate.
Yes, Vinay, he was getting his instructions, if we are to believe Parambir Singh, he was getting instructions on extortion from one party and being publicly backed by the other party.
Yes, Tanvi, you would understand that very well. There is a reason, for instance, in the armed forces, why there are very strict rules about respecting the hierarchy. An officer cannot bypass a rank above him and go to another officer. There is a reason why that rule is enforced very, very strictly in the armed forces. The OGs are not allowed to do that. You know, when governments of the day provide direct access to junior officers, bypassing senior officers, senior supervisory officers, you do three things which are extremely damaging for a police force. You lower and reduce the morale of the supervisory officers. You reduce and lower the supervisory authority that they enjoy over their subordinates, and you in the process create larger than life, unaccountable and completely criminal mindset officials with absolutely no layers of supervision. The reason why police is a hierarchical organization, because it is necessary to police and to create a concept of supervision and oversight. There is no oversight if the supervisor officers are simply being bypassed and the officer is having direct access and clout directly either to the commissioner or even to the minister. And this practice that a lot of politicians and the governments and even officers nowadays do is the one big reason why you find the morale and the motivation of some of the decent officers in every police force at a rock bottom currently. No good officer today feels motivated because they realize they are completely nobodies. They're just getting bypassed by somebody who's probably 5 ranks junior to him.
Getting bypassed by somebody who's 5 ranks junior to them, by people below them who may be having higher contacts and will go to places if they become the yes man for the politicians. Politicians seeking more and more control of the police force and the policemen. Some of the policemen giving in, destroying it for the rest of the police force as well. And this is not just a case of Maharashtra. State after state, from south to center and north India, this is a reality. And what we were even addressing here a short while ago, the need for police reforms. But who's going to do it? Why will the politicians bother bringing in police reforms? They enjoy it this way when they have the control, when they have the power, when they have the power in a state or at the center, when they have the power to control the law enforcement agencies and the police force in every state. The unfortunate repercussion of that is the complete destruction of the skills and the credibility of a police force, rather than actually doing the police job that they were brought in for. They end up becoming the scapegoat in so many of these political games. They end up becoming pawns in the hands of politicians. Because we don't know what is the real story behind why the explosives were planted near Ambani's house. We don't know what is the real story behind why the owner of that Scorpio, Mansukh Hiren, was murdered. We don't know why Parambir Singh decided to write that letter and of course leak that letter. The intention was to leak that letter. We don't know if there is truth to what he claimed. And if indeed the top ministers and the chief minister knew about this alleged extortion racket, the only way we will find out any of this is via an independent probe, perhaps court monitored. In today's vitiated political atmosphere, I highly doubt people will believe police over CBI or CBI over police. Is that the only way out? Think about it. Thank you for joining us.